Fabulous. Okay, so again, we're so grateful to you for spending some time with us this evening. Again, my name is Heather Lemke, and then my colleague Greg Rowe is also presenting with me today. And we also got the privilege of spending our day today with those of you who have children at Wisconsin Hills. So we were with students in person and virtually to kind of kick things off in terms of the actual logistics of scheduling. So today has been a really big day for our 8th grade families, and we're really excited to continue it this evening. Again, I mentioned myself and Mr. Groh, those who are not present in this Zoom because they're conducting the other half of the alphabet right now, are Mrs. Devine and Mrs. Primo. What I would really emphasize about our school counseling staff is that we work collaboratively. Even though students are assigned to each of us by alphabet, we are always there for any student. So sometimes it's because of somebody being available or unavailable, and sometimes it's because they develop different relationships. Maybe would rather see Mr. Groh because it's a young man, maybe would rather see a female counselor for a particular situation. We're all here together, and we're all here for the students of Brookfield Central, and we will collaborate no matter what. The other thing to know is that we are pretty easily reachable. Our email addresses are listed on this slide, and starting this year, we've also set up an automatic scheduling system where students can schedule an appointment with us using Calendly links. The other face that you don't see right now is Miss Ferschel, and she is also available to help schedule student appointments as well, and she's the face and voice of student services whenever you call student services or stop in. I want to re-echo Mr. Bauer and Mr. Kurth's message about Brookfield Central's primary goal being making connections with students, with families, and making sure those connections extend beyond the simple. We really want every student each day to feel comfortable, to feel safe, and to feel like they can be their best self and grow the most possible here at Brookfield Central. You might enjoy watching this video at some point. It's a really neat production of highlighting a lot of the different activities, clubs, etc., and it can get you familiar with the campus as well. Oop. Okay. Our goals today. We certainly want to run you through some of the basics that are going to be most pertinent for you coming into 9th grade, such as what are some of the course options that are out there. How can you think at least a little bit in advance, thinking about the end result, which is that magical graduation date in 2025. We'll also give you some concrete examples of schedules, as well as some of the highlights of things that we also went over with students at Wisconsin Hills today. So I'm going to jump right in. The first site is something that Mr. Bauer shared with you already. If you're anxious to jump on that, even while we're talking today, I did post a short link on this slide. So if you do type in tiny.cc/21-22, it's going to pop you right into our academic planning site. And again, all of the resources, including recordings of tonight's sessions, links to things that we've referenced, this slide deck, all of that would be found here on this site. Oops, and I clicked on the site. Okay, so we are also going to talk, of course, about credits, graduation, and how that transitions into your next steps. This is the most simple explanation of what it requires for you to get a Brookfield Central diploma. The big number is 24. We do need 24 credits for students to graduate, and you can see in the center column the breakdown of how those credits come by department. Some of the highlights certainly are the core areas: 4 credits of English, 3 credits of math, science, and social studies. And then we, of course, highlight some of our additional offerings as well. Students staying physically active and healthy through physical education and learning about their health through our required health class. They have to dabble at least a bit in the fine and practical arts. So that's things like business classes, art classes, applied technology classes. In fact, if you look behind me, you can see I'm actually sitting and broadcasting from our Fab Lab tonight, which would count as a practical arts class, any of those classes using the Fab Lab. We also require financial literacy. And then anything above and beyond what you see there is considered an elective, no matter what category it falls under. Now, this is a little bit different for those of you who are looking at maybe a 2 or a 4-year college after high school. You may wish to go above and beyond our 24 credits and the recommendations for each department. And that would be looking towards more credits in math, science, and social studies especially. One of the most common questions that we get from families is about world language. Does my student need world language to graduate? The answer is actually no, they do not. It is not a Brookfield Central High School graduation requirement to take any world language at all. However, we do know that world languages are incredibly valuable for students wishing to be multilingual, multicultural, and have knowledge of the world. We also know that many 2- and 4-year colleges really appreciate students that have that same knowledge, and some will even have a 2-year requirement of the same foreign language in terms of admissions or sometimes graduation. So we do encourage you to do some research in that as you're thinking ahead. The other requirement for graduation is the Wisconsin Civics exam. This is a low stress thing that a student needs to do. We will go through it in more depth with our freshmen as they get on campus with us next semester or next year. But it is a box that does need to get checked before graduation. All right, this slide should look familiar if there are any 8th graders sitting and watching along with us tonight as we headed up in every classroom at Wisconsin Hills today. The 5 classes that you see bulleted out here are the 5 classes that every freshman needs to have in their schedule for next year. As I mentioned in the previous slide, we do encourage world language as well if that's a choice that the student wants to make. And we especially encourage you to check out the many, many electives, which you've heard alluded to so far this evening, and that we have the departmental links for an exploration of each of those departments as well, that you can peruse on your own time after this presentation. So, I want to talk a little bit about how to decide what to take. Some of the common questions that we get as school counselors from families and from students is, how can I decide when to accelerate and when to slow down? And we always say some of that is to plan backwards. Think about where you want to land, both in your career, in any educational opportunities you want after high school, if you want to land in apprenticeship after high school, if you want to enlist or become an officer in the military. There are so many options, and trying to think as best as you can about maybe what is a good fit is part of making that decision. The most common question that we get, especially with 9th grade, is how to do math. So I do want to give an example of that planning backwards using math, because that's such a common question that we get. So if you look at this slide, you're going to see 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. And sometimes we have students saying, hey, can I double up in math? Can I take, two levels of math in 1 year? And we always encourage them to think about what math they want to take in their senior year, especially if they think they want to go on to college, because most colleges want students to take a math class in that senior year. So you can see a student could finish in trigonometry and statistics, and that would be a great senior year, but then they definitely want to slow down so that they're taking Algebra 2 in 11th, Geometry in 10th, and Algebra 1 in 9th. If a student is a lover of math, or they think that they want to go into computer science or engineering as a career and they're zeroing in on that, then certainly taking a class like BC Calculus in their senior year could be a really great fit for them. And then they may want to accelerate, go ahead and take an honors level math course and work through geometry honors, algebra 2 honors, and pre-calculus honors. But every student is different. In the middle of the slide, you also see the basic projections, what class you should take next based on the previous math class. So there's how, where do I want to land in my senior year? And then there's how much can I handle right now and how much rigor or acceleration do I want, especially maybe in my 9th grade. So I'll share some tips that we shared with the 9th grader or the 8th graders today when we visited. The first is related to regular and honors courses. I always think of there being 4 big differentiators or things that you want to think about and consider as a family before making a determination. Number 1, interest. A student is probably not going to want to take an honors class in a subject area that they're just not that interested in. Number 2, pacing. When a student knows that they tend to be a little slower at picking up something or need multiple repetitions, an honors class might be paced a little bit too quickly for them to feel like they're doing their best and learning the most. Number 3 is depth. So this is kind of linked to interest, but a student has to be at least somewhat enjoying digging into a subject and getting deeper, because that's what an honors class will do versus a regular class. And finally is independence. A student really should feel pretty confident in navigating, seeking help when they need to, doing some independent reading and problem solving at home, etc., before they're trying to jump into an honors class. So those are some considerations that we encourage you to have as you're making course selections for next year. Acceleration is a slightly different question. I shared a little bit with you in the previous slide about math, where you think about where you want to end up in senior year. In the next few slides, I'll also give you some examples of schedules that show how students at the high school level can accelerate in any area. So for example, if they're a fantastic art student, they could accelerate by taking multiple art courses in their freshman and sophomore years as they deepen and develop to take the advanced level art courses in their junior and senior years, or even college level coursework, or mentorships and things like that to extend their skills. The third bullet asks about study hall. We shared with students today that technically a student could actually take a study hall every single term of high school and still get their 24 credits to graduate. Not very many students do that, it is true, but a great reason to consider taking a study hall would be how busy a student is outside of the school day. Maybe they're very active in sports clubs, activities, or particularly during the spring or fall, they might be more busy. Maybe they have a part-time job or have responsibilities at home that they also need to attend to. So certainly it can be appropriate for a student to take a study hall frequently or less frequently. And balance. We also really reiterated to our students today that we got to visit with at Wisconsin Hills how important it is to find the right balance for you. Every student is different and every subject feels different to every student. So thinking about yourself, thinking about how the family can connect around making class choices is the best way to seek balance. We always say if you're not sleeping, if you're not hanging out with friends, and if you're not still enjoying things that make you tick and make you feel good, you're probably overbalanced if you're spending all that time on school. Okay, so I said I would give you a couple examples because I want to share some ways that students can accelerate, as well as give you a picture of what schedules might look like in the fall. So you can see in this schedule, if you look down the left side, you see blocks 1, 2, 3, and 4 along the left axis, and then along the top, you see the terms. A reminder to families, this is a hot tip that I've gotten from many of my new families to the district, how quickly time moves on a block schedule. So for example, kids get their first final grade in early November. Just keep an eye on that. So you can see here that this student is a band student. So they have elected to take an alternating day class, which means that on B days they have band, and on A days they've elected to take honors biology. You can also see how the rest of their schedule plays out towards the bottom. You can see that this student is taking 2 honors classes, so both honors geometry and honors biology. So maybe those are the classes that they're especially interested in and independent in, but they've decided to take regular English 9. And so this looks like great balance to me, as well as you can see in 4th block at the bottom, wood design and introduction to business, great freshman electives. This is another example of a schedule with alternating day classes. This is a student who is in choir, and he elected to take world history as an alternating class. Honors biology and world history are the 2 options that students have to alternate if they are in an alternating day class. And then you can see the rest of this schedule. The student is thinking, hey, I just want to smoothly transition into high school. I want to make sure I do my best. They took a variety of electives. They started a new world language. They even took a couple study halls. And so this is a great schedule as well. This schedule you're going to see does highlight the one AP or college level course that is available to freshmen, AP Human Geography. The 8th grade social studies teachers often say it's a great connection to 8th grade. So if a student is a lover of the social sciences, could be a good fit for them. But you also see that world history is in this schedule because it's still a required class. It always has to be in every freshman schedule. This is a pretty rigorous schedule, I'll be honest. AP Human Geography is a college level course, and then this student is also taking honors geometry and honors biology. So definitely with not having, oh, there is one study hall, I forgot. So actually, I kind of like this. You know, it works out really well, especially for that student who loves school. Okay, and then this gives you an example of acceleration, but we're not looking at math, we're looking at science in this case. So this student has elected to take the honors level of biology and also add on principles of biomedical science, which is a class that kind of looks at the human body and how it works and intros some of the future classes in potentially anatomy, physiology, and so on. So hopefully that gives you a little picture of how schedules end up. And again, we did go through with students how to schedule today if they're a Wisconsin Hills student. And if they're not, Mr. Groh is going to give you highlights in this next half.
So thank you, Mrs. Lemke. As was said, I'm Mr. Groh, I'm one of the counselors, and I have students, last names R-O through Z. I want to thank you for joining us. And so we're so very excited to have you come to Brookfield Central. As you can see, I'm presenting in our incredible Library Media Center. Yes, that's right. You get to choose your own classes. I will help you walk through it. To get you started though, World History and PE 9, both graduation requirements, have already been uploaded for you. These are 2 great videos. One is about planning your schedule, and one is about actually using the academic planner to enter your classes in. Both of them could be found in the academic planning site that Mrs. Lemke had mentioned. So we're going to get started. Students would go to Infinite Campus, click on Academic Plan, then click on Next, and then you would come to a screen like this. Under Grade 9 is where we're going to list all our classes. So you'll notice the number after grade 9. It's a very important number. If the number is 6, that means you have 4 study halls. If the number is 8, that means you have a full schedule. What we're encouraging all our freshmen to do is to fill their schedule. The reality is you can always drop a class for a study hall if you need the study hall, but if you have a study hall, there's no guarantee that you will be able to add a class. So as students are using this tool, they'll go to a section like English, click on the box, and all the opportunities will be there for them. There's also an option on here to look up a course. So I can go to the box at the top and say I'm interested in a course like small engines, but I don't know anything about it. So I could type in small engines or even part of a name like SMA, and then we'll come to this screen. So first, it's going to show the name of the course. It will show that it's a fine and practical art. It'll show that 9th graders can take this class because grade level is 9 through 12. There's no prerequisites. And it gives us a description of the course. So now I know the course offers us the opportunity to take apart lawnmower and snowblower engines and put them back together. And it's also one of the first courses in our auto strand. So I'm going to go over some additional scheduling tips for you. So as we had talked about, 2-term classes, such as English 9, have a number 1302 with an A after and a B after. So if I'm going to enter that course, I want to make sure that I have both parts of that course. One-term courses do not have that A or B. So PE9 is 2001. It's a one-term class. 2 terms, 1 term. Now, Mrs. Lemke had talked about alternating day courses. The way you can tell if it's an alternating day course is after that A and B are the letters ALT. So as we saw on the examples, this student is alternating band with honors biology. The one on the bottom is alternating band with world history. And again, an alternating day class means an every other day class. So 1 day's band, 1 day's world history, 1 day's band, 1 day's world history, and so on. Again, looking back at this, a full schedule is 8 credits. 6.5 credits would be 3 study halls. 7 credits would be 2 study halls. 6 credits would be 4 study halls. Way at the bottom of your screen is a box for alternates. Not trying to confuse you here. Alternates are the backup courses. So if I can't get an elective I want, I can go in here and put up some backup courses. So say I really wanted small engines, but say when the schedule comes out, small engines runs at the same time as English 9. Well, the computer's going to kick out small engines and throw in a study hall. But I was smart enough to go in here and add some alternates. So really, I like to work with my hands, and I added Woods 1 and Building Construction 1, so that if the problem occurs, we can try to use those courses to fill it in. Way at the top of the academic planner is a button called Save. This tool does not auto-save. So what you have to do is you have to click Save. You'll get a message that you click OK on, and everything is saved for you at that time. So you can save as many times as you're doing this. You can save multiple times in a day. But I can tell you that I've known some students that filled out this whole academic planner and also added alternates, forgot to hit save, and had to start from scratch. As Mrs. Lemke had mentioned, we got lots of elective offerings in lots and lots of different departments. Electives are great opportunities to explore a career, like maybe I'm interested in intro to business because I'm interested in business, or electives are opportunities to do things fun. Maybe I want to do that Woods class. Maybe I want to do an art metals class. Maybe I'm interested in computers. There's a link at the bottom that opens up some of the options for all those different electives that we have. Now, this academic planner is open from now until February 22nd at 8 o'clock. You can go in as many times as you like. You can make changes, you can make additions, you can do deletions, you can save it. But on February 22nd at 8 o'clock, whatever you have in there becomes your schedule for next year. Now, the counselors want to be available to you. So Mrs. Lemke and I have February 16th during the day and February 17th in the evening with appointments every 15 minutes if you would like to connect with us. You can see our Calendly links on there. So feel free if you got questions, if you want us to take a look at the schedule, to go in and set up an appointment. Now, you get the opportunity to explore our virtual smorgasbord of course options. What's really unique this year is when you go into these links, you will learn everything you want to know about like art or about business or about social studies, not just what freshmen take. There's a link on there too about clubs, activities, and athletics that Mr. Kurt mentioned, and it has a lot of the different options available. And if you're new to high school, we got even a link for you that talks about some things to kind of get you acclimated and get you ready for starting our school year. So again, thank you so much for attending. If you do have any questions, feel free to use our Calendly link and set up an appointment to meet with us, or even shoot us an email. Have a most wonderful evening.